Ooh, we're back, baby. It's the Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. Fisher, Tosopoulos. A little over 24 hours after we were saying our men's basketball team is doomed. A little over 24 hours after Toss came out and was like, we got to go 4-0 on this stretch. We can go 4-0. We're starting off at Tech, who beat us at home to kick off Big 12 play. We go into Texas Tech and do what Kansas pretty much did to us in the first half. And absolutely dominant. Max Asmus, whose shot was nowhere to be found for games and games at a time, comes out, scores 18 points. Obviously, Dylan Dessou, who, you know what? It's unfortunate. I mean, look, we were never going to be better than Kansas probably, and we're probably obviously never going to be better than Houston, although that game we had an overtime against them at home a couple weeks ago. That was that's one of the tipping points of the season, that UCF West Virginia. If we beat UCF West Virginia and if Dylan Dessou doesn't start the season hurt, he's well into the wooden watch at least. Look, he's not going to win player of the year, but he's well into the wooden watch. This guy is putting up such offensive performances. He's unconscious from three. He went 0 for 2 yesterday, but before that he was shooting over 50%.
Yeah, he still is. I think he's a 50-50-80 guy. So if you're field goal 3-point free throw for a big man at his size, you know, he protects the rim. He rebounds decently. I think that's the one thing that we've always wanted him to do more of that he did at Vanderbilt. But when you have a guy like Dylan Mitchell who's averaging over 8 rebounds a game at the 3-4 spot, like that's you know, I don't really care that much about Dessou, especially in a game like this against Texas Tech, where we dominated on the glass. We out-rebounded them by 14 boards, and that made a huge difference in this game, especially because our defense, we were great at the point of attack. We were forcing them to take tough shots. I thought that the refs let both teams get away with a lot of contact in this game. It was really chippy. It always is between Tech and Texas,
in the end,
especially when it's at Lubbock. Yeah, we'll get into our guy Brock Cunningham and his send off to the Lubbock Red Raiders. Who knows when we're playing them next, right? But Dessou, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of this guy. And we were up by 24 at half, and I'll tell you what, like, he's so good in the high post isolation, and I was bewildered that Texas Tech wasn't doubling him because he's got that face up game. But he's also, you know, when there's a high pick and roll and he's the slip and he's the roller, like, he's really effective. He used that pump fake to get guys up in the air, and then he either goes into them or he finishes at the rim and dunks. He displayed pretty much all of what he can do last night, except for hitting the three. And on the 3-point shot, he's averaging 3.6 attempts per game. So it's not like the guy's shooting 1 3-pointer a game and he's just so happening to hit 1 every 2, right? Like, the guy can actually shoot. So yeah, I mean, he's continuing to up his stock in regards to being an NBA prospect and ending up on an NBA roster because he's a real pick and pop guy. Like, I think that's really true for him. And because he can't rebound the ball well enough, I don't think that would turn him into a starter. So he'd be like a pick and pop guy that can come off the bench, get his own, maybe like a Kelly Olynyk type that can't dribble as well. Like, he's not as good of a ball handler and a playmaker, but as far as like offensive effectiveness off the bench, I could really see that for Dessou once he gets to the bigs. But for right now, focusing on this team, it was a huge win. It doesn't necessarily change my mind about what I was saying in regards to our tournament chances once we get there, but it does change my mind as to us getting there to be that 8 seed, that 7 seed, whatever our projection was before we looked, 2 days ago. So that makes me happy. I want to see our guys there, and I like the resolve. I love ending our relationship with Texas Tech on a very high note for us. We might see them in the conference tournament, I guess, but as of now, this is the last time that we're playing them, and we ended up with a W. So got to feel good about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on Dessou's NBA prospects, I think you hit all the points of we would love for him to rebound a bit better, obviously ball handle a bit better. But, you know, we've seen it time and time again, like just everything opens up a little bit in the NBA. There's more room, right? More room to operate. And for a guy like that who can shoot and is assuming, and his shot has gotten better and better. So you assume he continues to ride that wave, right, of progression. You know, then we're in a place where this guy he could hit spot up threes. He could hit open shots. And if you could do that, you're going to at least find your way onto a bench for sure in
Yeah.
the NBA, or at some point get a shot. Like, I don't know if he'll be drafted, his age, his injury history. There's a lot of things going against him, but he's definitely done all he can to continue to elevate his game to a potential G League NBA level. And then on topic of our bracketology, like right now, Lenardi has us as a 10 seed. It says it's updated as of the 27th, which was yesterday. So I don't know if that includes last night's game.
Probably not.
Probably not. He has us as the last 4 in, which is scary, as a 10 seed playing Utah State. I don't hate it. I mean, I would, if we're at 10 seed playing a 7 seed Utah State, there's no way I'm not picking us. You know what I'm saying? That's a given.
Yeah.
Right. That's an easy pick. But like with a win against at Tech, who they're a 7 seed in his bracket, like it's a solid win. They're ahead of us in the conference. The things tighten up in the conference race now. And all of a sudden, like, we're in a position, not in the best way, but we control our own destiny. Like, look, we're not going to be a 3 seed like in years past, but we have Oklahoma State at home, right? And that gets us back to break even in the Big 12, which would be huge. And then you just got to hope you can split the Baylor and OU games. If you go 3-1 in that stretch, it's a completely different story. Right now we're 7-8. We're half a game back from the Sooners and a full game back from that little quadrant of teams that you said will be the cutoff line of Tech, BYU, and TCU. OU goes to Iowa State tonight, which hopefully is a loss, right?
Yeah.
For Oklahoma, which would pull us at that point into still a half game back in the full season, but we'd be even in the Big 12, which is great to see. I do think, though, in terms of this team, last night's a bit bittersweet, right? Because again, Tech's a really good team. They have good guard play. They're always strong defensively. They're at home. For us to come out and do what we did, and the A-Smiths didn't finish the game, shooting that well, but he came out really hot. And Weaver, and the big honestly part of the whole game was our bench play. Weaver, Shedrick, Cunningham. I mean, they combined for 30 plus points off the bench, which is like crazy in college to get.
Yeah, I mean, in Shedrick, he was really hyper efficient in his limited minutes. He only played 8 minutes, right? But he scored 10 points and he had 6 rebounds. Like, he made a real impact when he got in there, which is what you want, right? You want him to get in there as a backup big and replace the productivity of what you had with Dessou, and he was able to replicate that really well. And I thought Weaver ran. I thought he ran the pick and roll with a lot of confidence. I thought our guys were making great decisions with the ball, when they're forced to make a decision, especially going downhill. It worries me that we went 5 for 22, right? Like, our defense our defense was the real story of this game, alongside the rebounding. Like I mentioned, like, we were able to capitalize on how well we initially defended that first possession and not give them second opportunities. And we got to the line, right? We shot 30 free throws.
I was going to say, like, I don't want to jump in, but like, that to me, like, Weaver going to the line 11 times. Yeah. Went 9 of 11 from the line. Cunningham 4 of 4. A-Smith, who's obviously a great free throw shooter, goes 4 of 4.
Yeah. It just worries me with the 3-point shot. And it also worries me that, again, I mentioned, like, I can't believe that they weren't doubling Dessou more. He's our best player. It's very clear. And if you have defensively, if we get to the tournament, or we're looking at the conference tournament and you're scheming against Texas, what I do is I send like late doubles and I make it as uncomfortable as possible for Dessou to get to his spot at that high post where he can do the face-up game and shoot that, 15-footer in guy's face and really hit it at a high clip. And you either bring a late double or you have a really physical defender on him. And then you just have a guy chasing A-Smith around the court, and you force the other guys on Texas to beat you, right? That's what's going to happen. You force Dylan Mitchell to score 20 points in a game. You force Hunter to have a game where he hits 5 threes, right? And if he does, maybe you live with that, right? That is why, and those guys can do it, but can they do it for 3 games in a row? I'm not sure, right? Because that's not what we've seen. So that's where I kind of have the same sentiment that I did prior to us playing this game in regards to us, and how competitive we would be in the NCAA tournament. But yeah, I mean, we've got a decent amount of time until we play Oklahoma State. It's not like we play them tomorrow night. So I really think we can take care of business here. And it was great to get a win on the road. Baylor just beat TCU on the road. That was a huge win, not only for the Longhorns from a standings perspective, but, it's certainly giving the Bears the right momentum heading into the tournament. And if we could knock them off, in Waco, that another road victory for us would do wonders for our confidence and also for our placing just in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and now as it stands for the Big 12 tournament, which is also going to be paramount at points, we're the 9 seed right now. We're in 9th place, so we're the 9 seed here. We would match up against OU in the second round. The first round would be the 12 versus 13, 11 versus 14. And then
after just finishing the season playing them too. So we'd play them 2 games in a row.
Yeah, it's kind of shaping out to be like we're pretty much almost locked in at one of those 2 spots. I think the best we could do is like 7. And then, and then we'll just if you could win and go to the third round, the quote unquote third round, but really the second round for us in the Big 12 tournament, and go against one of those top 4 teams, it'd probably be Houston, Baylor, or Kansas. Then we'll take our chances. I know Kansas lost to BYU, and I know Baylor got that win. I know we see Baylor of those 3 teams, those big 3 next, and I should include Iowa State in there, of course, because we think we can go far. They can go far. I think that Kansas and Houston are in a class of their own. The more I watch, and I think Houston's probably in a class of their own from Kansas. Baylor is so they're just not great on defense again for some reason. I don't know what it is. So if we get hot, then I like our chances in Waco to at least sneak one out or make things close. The issue that we have against them is they have Misi, who's a monster on the inside. And the best part about what we had against Tech which is why I think Shedrick ate, which is why I think Dessou had a strong game, which is why I think we got to the line a lot. Tech plays a really small ball.
Yeah.
Right. Their biggest starter is like 6'7". So they play a really small brand of basketball, which is great for us because we got some size that could but we got some soft size, like guys that don't bang really well, but we do have some size. So I hope that if we can get past OU, win the Oklahoma State game at home and close out Moody strong, then it kind of turns our season around and we get to the Big 12 tournament and can show some good basketball. Then it's anyone's game. Look, like we were saying to Nick, and Nick was saying in the last show, can we give you a 7 seed or an 8 seed and get hot? And we said no. But like I'm sure like the Sindarius Thornwells in the world of like South Carolina when they were the 7 seed and they came out of nowhere and went to the Final Four. Anything's possible if you get hot at the right time.
Getting hot and winning the tournament are 2 different things too, right? Like,
oh yeah,
can we get hot and win 3 games, get to the Sweet 16? Actually, I guess we win 3 games, depending if we're the play-in team or not. If we win 3 games, we're the play-in team. We're in the Sweet 16. If we win 3 games, we're in the Elite 8, right? We're losing in the Elite 8 game. So we're winning that 64-32 and then the Sweet 16, that would be incredible. That would be right back to where RT was last year. Like
if he could get to the Sweet 16, if he could get out of the 64, if he could get out of the 32, I would be very impressed. Because I look at this college basketball season different. Like last year, there was no one that we couldn't beat in my eyes. Truthfully, we could beat everybody in my eyes last year with the way Serge Jabari Rice was shooting, with cars both sides of the court as a basketball player.
I think by the time like you further assessed it, seeing what UConn did, I don't think anyone was going to beat them in the tournament.
Oh, yeah.
But it seemed that way. Yeah, I agree with you for sure.
And on the topic of UConn this year, there are teams that can beat them. There have been teams that can beat them. Creighton beat them the other day. I think Houston could give them some work, of course, and Houston could be favored for all we know. We can't beat that team. We can't. We cannot beat UConn. They have so many pros on that team. Pros. Not guys that maybe you could get a shot. Like I'm talking like pros. They have like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Professional basketball players in that team. And I don't know if there's any other team in the nation other than a Kentucky or a Duke that has that at a freshman, right? That has like pros like that.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. I'd have to think about it. I saw just as an aside, I saw a really funny graphic from a BYU fan that was like, we're the only Big 12 team that has 1,000% winning 1,000 winning percentage at Allen Fieldhouse. And like every other Big 12 team was like, we've only won 11%. We've won, 8% of the games we've played there. We've won 12% of the games. And it's like, we only played one game there. But
I mean, dude,
congratulations. No, I mean, it's funny. It's funny. It's good for them, obviously.
it is good for them, but BYU is like Robinson's pretty good. Like Jackson Robinson's a pretty good basketball player, right?
Definitely.
Like, yeah. They play strong defense. They have 5 guys in double-digit scoring.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to answer your previous question. Yeah, I mean, Robinson might end up, depending on how things go for them in the Big 12 tournament. I mean, this guy, he could play his way into the lottery. Like I probably not, but like he might be between a 16 and 20. So presumably he'll be a first round pick.
There's just such. I mean, it's
There's
all
a
over
ton.
the place.
I mean, this draft class is kind of it's everywhere.
It's like, what do you do with Terrence Shannon Jr. from Illinois? Like where he could be like the 8th pick or the 25th pick.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think your call on like Kentucky though, right, is like they got a lot of guys that could end up getting drafted if they all went. Some of them should stay, I think, but like Dillingham could go, Shepherd could go.
Well, the Dillingham and Shepherd are going to go.
Yeah, right. Aaron Bradshaw could go.
Stay, though. He should stay.
He should. DJ Wagner should stay as well, but like he would get drafted. Justin Edwards would get drafted probably. Even Antonio Reeves could get drafted. Like that's a lot of guys. Ivisic, their big man, who's 7'2". Like I wouldn't be surprised if all those guys got drafted.
Yeah,
but I think
the
a lot
thing
of them
is like
stay.
they should stay. Like but you go to like Caravan for UConn, he'll be a 2nd round pick, but Castle and Klingon would be they're both, top 20 picks.
Yeah, maybe they fall into the late first round. But
again, we're anticipating they go far in March. The farther you go in March, the better you're highlighted. Castle can jump into the lottery if they go far and he shows out.
Yeah. But yeah. And I mean, like outside of that, I'm looking at a couple of mocks here just to like see what colleges are represented, right?
Duke.
Yeah, Duke. I mean, with Filipowski and I mean Baylor, right? With Walter and
Misi.
People, and people like Misi and his size. McCullough will be a 1st round pick, and if Dickinson can get, I mean, Kansas maybe having a couple of guys.
I love Furphy's name. I like Furphy. They're like, you want to be Murphy? They're like, nah, give me the F, dude.
But outside of that, like most other colleges, it's like they've got one guy, right? Maybe like Osa Ighodaro and Camp Jones for Marquette, but that's 2 2nd round picks, right? Like
Kolek.
Yeah, I don't think he probably won't get drafted, but I love that guy.
Which is so crazy.
I'll take that guy on my team. He's great. Makes excellent decisions, and he can hit spotted 3-pointers. I mean, but there's a lot to get excited about. I think just in general, the fact that it's the end of February, beginnings of March here is exciting in and of itself. We love college basketball. Super fun for draft implications. Super fun just to see who makes a run. Super fun to see the upsets. I can't. Was it on the show? Was it on air that I was like, Colorado State? They're kind of intriguing. They've lost like 2 of their last 3 games.
Yes, it was on the show. We didn't clip it yet, but I mean, because it's kind of evergreen stuff. Because I don't think our opinions are going to change. But I like the take. I like them as like a sneaky team.
Well, yeah, but they're losing games now, so who knows?
We'll admit it. That's the power of editing.
Yeah.
Great. We'll be back next time. Anything you wanted to add?
No, just sights set on Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
take down the Cowboys. Yeah,
take them down. But you got to win the games. You got to win. All right, Fisher Desopoulos. We'll see y'all next time with the Snacks Man.
Hook 'em.